Good evening. My name is Janice Mathis. I'm the Executive Director of the National Council of Negro Women, where Dr. Janetta Betch Cole is our President and Chair of the Board of the National Council of Negro Women. We work on a variety of fronts that we call for the future. And one of them is education with an emphasis on STEAM. And another is on financial literacy with an emphasis on financial education. We have a wonderful expert here to share with us this evening, something that everyone is concerned about, our credit scores and those dreaded credit reports. We're going to demystify some of that for you this evening with a trusted friend who comes to us every year, and he's always one of our highest rated speakers. And so we're delighted that he could join the National Council of Negro Women once again to help enlighten us and help us have stable financial outlooks for ourselves, our families, our children, and ultimately even for our communities. But before we get into the program and introducing our speaker, Mr. Kevin Johannes, who is our esteemed Director of Communications, will give us just a few technical hints so that we can get the most out of our experience tonight. Mr. Johannes, are you there?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. If you look on your device, you will see a couple of things. One is a orange arrow. The other would be a place that you can actually type in a question, in which case we will take that question and ask our esteemed guest. Also, if your question is not answered or you have something, you can hit the hand button and would let us know that you have a question to be discussed. Also, below that, you will see two things. One says handouts, and you will see a PDF version of tonight's presentation. And after which, you will receive an email, a survey with a few questions. If you would take the time out to answer that survey, it would help us in planning more of these. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johannes. We want you to get the most out of your experience tonight, and we have an expert who is here to help guide us along the way. Bill Cheeks is president of ABBA Associates, a Powder Springs, Georgia-based fiscal management consulting firm that provides counseling and conducts seminars nationwide to help consumers map a successful life plan. And we all know that you can't have a successful life plan without good financial information. The seminars he conducts are for companies, government agencies, and nonprofit organizations like the National Council of Negro Women. He is a consultant to the Jumpstart Coalition for Personal Financial Literacy, and in that capacity serves as Eastern States Regional Director, assisting and advising Jumpstart state coalitions in the region. He started the coalition to improve credit education in April 2016 and serves as the executive director of the Coalition to Improve Credit Education. Now, I can remember a time when I heard the word Equifax, it would make me tremble because Equifax is that large company based in Atlanta that tracks our financial transactions and gives us a grade. And we all want that grade to be nice and high, so when we get ready to buy a house or a car, we have the credit score that the lenders are looking for. But that is where Bill Cheeks cut his teeth as a professional. He joined Equifax in October 1967 in Washington, D.C., and held key management positions in New York, Albany, West Palm Beach, Florida, and worked his way up to become general manager at Atlanta Regional Office of Equifax Services in 1986. In 1990, he was promoted to assistant vice president of credit reporting for Equifax. So what better person to demystify the world of credit scores and help us obtain the very best credit score possible than my friend, a genuine expert, and a gentleman, Mr. William Bill Cheeks. Good evening, Bill, and
Good
welcome.
evening. Good evening, Janice, and good evening to all of the folks on the line. It is such a delight again to speak to folks with the National Council of Negro Women and other guests, because I did invite some people to join us tonight, because I'm always excited in working with you on this, because I know your passion for helping people with their credit and just, as you said, doing great things. And I hope through my work with you that you had a better feeling as long as I was there with Equifax on just helping people. Uh, we
Well, I
think,
certainly did. My problems with Equifax were not Equifax's fault. It was my fault for being an irresponsible consumer. But over the years, I've learned from you how to be better and how to get that credit score up and keep it up. So it wasn't Equifax's fault.
okay, thank you. As most of you see on the screen here, I have credit reports and credit scores, but I want to talk for a minute about something else, and I won't put the slides up because of a few technical errors we were having earlier. So I want to make sure that we spend the time on the credit. But there's another piece that people don't like to talk about, and that's budget. The importance of having a budget and knowing how much to spend in different areas. I did a presentation last night on purchasing a car, and I had a lady on, and she said, the car, I told her the maximum. Okay. Are
Mr.
we okay
Chief,
now? Yeah.
we have a little difficulty. I'm getting notices that it's coming from your screen upside down. So I'm going to take over the screen and see if that makes it right side up. And if you just want me to advance it, I will do so.
Okay. That's fine.
Okay.
All right. We're ready now.
We're ready now, sir.
Okay, good. As I was saying last night, I talked to people, and they were buying a car, and I told them the maximum for everything in operating a vehicle, you should be 15% of your gross pay. And she said, Ms. Cheek, you can't be any higher than that. I said, no, that throws you off balance. It's just like in renting. If you have a desire to uh, buy a home, you should not spend more than 25 to 30% on rent, and then you could spend another 5% as far as savings if you're going toward a home. So it's important to have that budget and stick to it. And one part of the budget is savings. And we have seen with the downturn in the economy the importance of a person having savings, because you just never know when there will be a financial challenge. And I encourage people to tabulate all of your bills, and then calculate for 6 months, hopefully at minimum of 3 months, having that in savings for an emergency. So it's really important to look at that and think about the budgeting process, and then you'll have won't have the challenges with credit. And I'll switch back and forth as we're going through the credit reports and credit scores. Next slide, please. Okay, in this workshop, we're going to explore the importance of credit scores, credit reports, learn how to access information about your credit report, also discuss strategies to build and improve your credit, identify how to protect yourself from credit frauds and just all of these companies that advertise late at night or signs on the side of the road indicating they're going to get you out of credit trouble. That's just not going to happen. Next slide, please. Okay. What is a credit score? This is the big mystery for most people. I want to break it down for you and help you understand the credit score. I've spent a lot of time in this area, and this is based on information from FICO. There are two major credit scoring agencies. There is FICO, and then there is Vantage Score. FICO is the one that's best known, used to be called Fair Isaac, but now it is just known as FICO. And your credit score ranges from 300 to 850, and that's with both of the scoring agencies. As you can see here, if you have below a 579 credit score, that is poor. Really, it below 600, as I talk to people, you really want to get above 600. The average credit score nationwide is about 680, and there are some areas, unfortunately, they're all cold places. They have over 700 average credit score. For instance, Minnesota has the highest credit score. Wisconsin also has a high credit score. Vermont has a high credit score. New Hampshire, Massachusetts, all of those places, as you notice, are cold. The places with the lowest credit scores, they are Texas, Mississippi, Georgia. So a number of those places, they have the lowest credit scores, and those credit scores are in the 650 range. Remember, I said the average for national is a credit score of 680. So 580 to 669, they show it as fair credit score, and then you get 670 to 739 is good. 740 to 799 is very good, and 800 to 850, that's an exceptional credit score. And don't take the next statement that I'm saying as a bragging statement. My credit score consistently is somewhere between 830 and 850 on a monthly basis. I look at my credit score on a monthly basis, and I want to mention here now, I want you to think about this moving forward. You should have a creditor, either a credit card or a car loan. They normally provide you on a monthly basis with a credit score. That is a better credit score than you can get from educational credit scores, even with the credit reporting agencies. So it's really important to know what your credit score is, but I'm going to show you how it's built as we go through this particular presentation. Next slide, please. Okay, strategies to build credit. Number one, you want to open a line of credit. That's either a credit card or some type of credit. Request your payment history is reported. A lot of people say, Mr. Cheeks, why would that be on the slide? Request that your payment history be reported. Now, some creditors, especially smaller credit, small banks, credit unions, they may not report to all three of the credit reporting agencies. So you want to really think about that. They have the next one here, and I don't necessarily agree with it. You say I'm using these slides for presentation. Why don't I agree with some of the things? I open a joint account. You see, it's optional. I am very hesitant about opening a joint account because someone may misuse the account. I know how I'm going to use it. but maybe someone who's the best friend or even the spouse in the house, there may be some challenges. So it's best to open your own account. Pay all your bills on time and in full. Never miss a payment. And I'll get into that on the next slide. Okay. This shows that building credit is about a choice. Uh, there are two young ladies, Anna and Bella. They have been friends since they were in middle school. They both own cars now. They have grown up and have steady incomes to pay their bills. Yet Anna has a credit score of 530 and Bella has a credit score of 700, and they both decide to buy a house. But guess who did not have a problem in buying her house? That was Bella, because she had a 700 credit score. You saw the scores that I gave previously, and the credit scores. If you are in below 579, that's a poor credit score. If you are 700, that's a good credit score. So that's why Bella did not have any problems with the house. Next slide, please. Okay, the credit reporting agencies, there are three major credit reporting agencies, but these are not the only credit reporting agencies, but these are the ones that people know about. There's Experian, which they have your information. And so it is really, really important to know that these are the big three. And guess what? Something just happened because of COVID-19. You have heard previously that you could only get a free copy of your credit report on an annual basis unless there was some type of negative item that happened in your credit report. But now, since until March of next year, you can get a free copy of your credit report from all three of these credit reporting agencies on a weekly basis. Let's go to the next slide, please. Let's talk about and spend some time on this particular slide here. You're calculating your credit score. It's 100%. I'm going to walk through. The biggest part of your credit score is payment history. That's 35% of your credit score. Let me just give you an example of what can hurt you when we talk about your payment history. You miss a payment 2 months ago versus missing a payment 24 months ago. The missing of the payment 2 months ago could have impacted your credit score anywhere from 80 to 110 points. Remember earlier on this slide, I said, pay bills on time all the time. Missing that one payment can take you over a year to rebuild your score. So it's critical to make payments on time all the time with all of your bills. Let's go to the amount owed. That's the second largest part of your credit score, and that is your debt. They look at all kinds of debt. Some people come to me and say, Bill, I bought a car and it dropped my credit score. Yes, it did, because you got deeper in debt. They also look and say, well, I bought a house and it lowered my credit score. Yes, because you got deeper in debt. But I also say, here is an education process for you. As you pay down that debt, guess what? Your score goes up, and creditors look at you differently because those debts show your stability, that you are able to get a car, that you're able to buy a home. Initially, it is a problem because I will show you another area where that will also impact you from a credit score standpoint. But then let's go to the third area. Well, let me finish here on the biggest part and what tells us more about your amount owed. That's your credit cards. All kinds of credit cards, but I only have the major credit cards, the American Express, the Discover, the Visa, the MasterCard, those major cards. But when I'm doing these presentations in person, most of the time, as on this webinar tonight, I'm pretty sure most of the people are ladies on the call, so I have a little bit of fun chatting with the ladies, asking how many of you have store credit cards, and sure, almost every hand goes up. Now those credit cards, they are fine, but what they are normally higher interest rates. But why do you get them? Because they provide promotional items and tell you about the sales and all of those kinds of things. And really, those credit cards are managed by major financial institutions, not really the different stores that you are doing business with. But let's talk again about how these credit cards really impact your score. You may have heard people say, well, keep your card around 30% owed. I tell people, no, keep it much lower than that. People often ask me, Bill, how do you have such a high credit score? I tell them my utilizations, when we talk about balances and everything, we're talking about utilization on credit cards. And I say I keep my utilization rate very low. It's normally around 5%. I only utilize about 5%. And I have 6 credit cards. I have 3 business and 3 personal credit cards because I do have a business and I don't mix and match if it's for business. But Janice had in her information talk a little bit about business, and a lot of times people come to me and say, well, Bill, I only I don't want them to look at my personal credit for my business. I said, when you first start out, now I've been in business for 18 years because I've retired from Equifax that long. I've been in business for 18 years, so I can apply in my business name. But when I was just starting out, my personal credit was my business credit. So it's really important to have good personal credit in order to build good business credit, because you're not going to be given that. But getting back to the amount owed and how to use credit cards. I use credit cards this way, and I encourage you, if you can't do it now, to work to get to that place, and that is only charge on credit cards if you can pay balance in full on a monthly basis. There's never a month that I don't pay balance in full. There's never a month. They can trace me back. I just pulled all 3 of my credit reports last week, and I checked everything. They show no history of me missing a payment, and also very low debt on any of the credit cards, because I'm really not even traveling now. So my score has even gone higher. Probably the next time I get it, it'll be probably 840, something out of 850. I've even gotten a perfect credit score a number of months. But let's go to the next area, and I want to demystify something else with you. Length of credit history. That's 15% of your credit score. You may have heard people say, okay, I want to close out this credit card because I'm not using it. And I asked this question. I said, are you paying an annual fee on that credit card? And number two, how long have you had that credit card? And number three, what is the available credit on that credit card? And when they give me those answers, then I will tell them whether you should close it out or you shouldn't. If you've had the credit card for a long period of time, have a great payment history on it, and you're not paying an annual fee, and let's say it's $5,000 available credit on it, I say, please keep that, because that helps your credit score. Because if you close it out, it wipes out all of the history, so that can hurt your credit score. So remember that. Now, I will also cover in a couple of minutes how long information actually stays on your credit report. But I want to go to two other areas on this credit score cycle we have here, this circle we have. The next one is new credit. Know this, every time you apply for new credit, it's going to lower your credit score. And people say, Bill, how much is it going to lower my credit score? And I can't tell you that, and no one can tell you that, but know that it will lower your credit score with three exceptions. Three exceptions. Buying a car. I tell people you want to shop around and get your best rate, but do it in a 15 to 20 day period of time. All of the inquiries will show, but they'll group the inquiries. And so it's treated as one inquiry. Then if you're buying a house, same thing. You want to shop around, or if you're getting a home equity line of credit. Those are the three exceptions. There are two types of inquiries. When you pull your credit report, you will see all of the promotional type of inquiries. When you have pulled your credit report, if the credit reporting agency has looked at your report and made changes and all of that, those are called soft inquiries, internal type inquiries. Only you see those inquiries. And also know this, a soft inquiry does not affect your credit score. It's only when you apply for something that impacts your credit score, and that's called a hard or external inquiry. That's 10% of your credit score, and the final one is your mix of credit. 15 credit cards is not a good mix of credit, but 2 or 3 credit cards, a car loan, a mortgage, that's a good mix of credit, and that will help your credit score, having this good mix and then doing all of the other things that I just mentioned. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. Co-signing. I talked to you earlier about co-signing, and it's not a good idea. But let's talk about this particular example here. Well, I thought we had gone 2 slides. Okay, Anna. No, go back to the other slide. Okay, Anna's house is in foreclosure. Anna is the one earlier that I talked about, and Bella is the one that did not have problems, but she did finally get a house, and now she's in foreclosure, so she wants her friend Bella to co-sign for her to help her keep her house, and that's just not a good idea. Go to the next slide, please. Michael and Tamika are getting married in 2 weeks. They are thinking about merging their finances by opening a joint account and applying for joint credit cards. Tamika has good credit, but Michael does not. Should they sign up for joint credit? Absolutely not. But they should have talked about this a long time ago. And I hope I don't offend anybody that's on this webinar tonight. That's a discussion when you are getting serious that you need to talk about is how is your credit? I know it's not sexy or anything, but it is really a very important discussion to have. Next slide, please. What is a credit report? Your credit report is a snapshot of your credit history. Credit reports help lenders, such as financial institutions, understand your credit worthiness and whether you are going to repay them. They get to your credit report through your credit score, but that's what the credit score is. It pulls up all of the data from your credit report. Next slide. Okay. Remember earlier I told you you can get a free credit report now on a weekly basis. Here is where you need to go. You don't go to free credit report. You don't even go to the credit reporting agencies. I want you to go directly to www.annualcreditreport.com. Best to get it online. All of you are watching this webinar or listening to it online. So there is a dial-in number, but go online to get a copy of your credit report. We'll get into a little bit more about your credit report a little later, but now you can get one free per week. You don't need to, I just got one last week. I won't look at it again for several months. I'll go back in and look again just to make sure everything is accurate. I didn't have any problems with anything on any of my 3 credit reports, but you can dispute information, do all of that information online. One of the things that I want to emphasize with you, make sure you do document everything that you are doing whenever you get a copy of your credit report if you disagree with something and all of the documentations that's needed there. Next slide, please. Getting your credit score, you can get it from the 3 credit reporting agencies, but again, I want to emphasize there really isn't a need now for you to pay for a credit score because even the credit reporting agencies, I'll just mention one of the credit reporting agencies has a service where they actually can enhance your credit score. Unless you've been under a rock somewhere, you've probably seen all of the advertisement for Experian Boost. Experian is the largest credit reporting agencies, and I know them very well. I know all 3 of these agencies very well because I work closely with Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion, as well as FICO and Vantage Score. Know all of the senior executives with those particular agencies. So it's really important to know that you can go to them, and there is a fee, FICO, all of them, but many of the companies that you are already doing business with will provide you with a free credit score on a monthly basis. But I was mentioning Experian Boost. They credit reporting agencies know many people don't have a thick credit file. It's probably 40 to 50 million people. So they know that almost everybody rents if they are not purchasing a home. More African American families, because the African American home ownership is somewhere around 42%. So that means almost 60% are renting. So these companies are looking for rent payment history. They are looking for cell phone payment history. They're looking for utility payment history. They are looking for landline phones, because old people like me, we still like our landline. So I have a landline. So I went to Experian Boost, and at that time, my credit score was 837. I gave them 5 different alternative, what we call alternative data points, and they checked them out and raised my credit score by 4 points. So I would encourage you, go to www.experian.com/boost, BOOST, and get your Experian Boost, and it will give you your credit score. Plus, it will provide you with some educational material on how to improve your credit and different things that you can do. Plus, you can see how alternative data will help you. Next slide. Reading your credit report, your personal information, of course, your name, your birth date, your social security number, your address, name of spouse may be on there, your employer may be on there, even a former address or two may be on there. But the biggest part of your credit report is going to be your credit account information. That's the different debts and the status of them. Open and closed accounts. Then the public records has really changed. The major thing that's going to be on your public records will be your bankruptcies. That's your Chapter 7 and Chapter 13 bankruptcies. You will not see any longer judgments, lawsuits, unpaid tax liens, or delinquencies. Now, because they are not there on the credit report any longer, doesn't mean that that information is not available. It's just not on the credit reports. It is now with companies like LexisNexis, because that is their area of expertise. For instance, if you are purchasing a home, believe me, they're going to LexisNexis, and that's one of these other types of alternative credit reporting systems. So it's really important that you understand this. But let's talk about how long information stays on your credit report. For instance, open accounts in good standing, they stay on indefinitely. Closed accounts in good standing, they stay on for 10 years. Late or missed payments stay on for 7 years. Collection accounts stay on for 7 years. The Chapter 7 bankruptcy for 10 years, the Chapter 13 bankruptcy for 7 years, and credit inquiries, which is the last area you see down here. The hard inquiries stay on for 2 years. The soft inquiries stay on for 1 year. And the one thing that we have not shown here is collections. And their collections are really changing. Over 50% of collection items have been healthcare related. the CFPB has gotten involved, and what they have noticed is a person who takes out a credit card, they agreed to that obligation, and therefore that is a credit collection that's really a lot more damaging and everything than a medical collection. We didn't just choose to become ill, and neither did our children. So it's really important, and the credit reporting agencies and CFPB agreed, and the credit scoring agencies agreed. Those types of collections should not be treated the same as a credit card collection. So there's been a major change here, and they can't even put the collections on like they used to when they were 120 days past due. It has to be for a medical collection at least 6 months, but most of the time they are not even placed on there at all. Let's go to the next slide, please. Important dates to review. Date your account was open, date of any delinquency. This is when you're looking at your credit report. Dates of public records, dates of credit requests. That's your inquiry. Next slide, please. Credit Repair Organization Act. This is something I want you to really think about. This is to protect you as a consumer, the Credit Repair Organization Act. Next slide, please. You hear a lot, especially on urban radio and other areas, about we can repair your credit and all of that. I'm going to give you an agency, a couple of agencies that you can go to get credit counseling, not credit repair. And this doesn't cost you anything. But there are many things that you can do yourself. Now there's no reason not to get a copy of your credit report from all three agencies. As I said, you can get them on a weekly basis from all three of the credit reporting agencies. Begin by making an online a request for the information from the credit reporting agencies. Then you contact the lender if there is a problem, make arrangements to repay them. You have all of the documentation and everything in front of you from the credit reporting agencies. And if you dispute information with the credit reporting agencies, they give them 30 to 45 days to get back to you. Then if you still dispute what is reported by the company that you are disputing the information with, you can put a statement in your credit report, and that must be reported to all of the different creditors. Let's go to the next slide, please. And again, here, we want you to monitor your credit reports and scores. It's important, as I've said over and over again, pay your bills on time. Get credit counseling. As I said, I'm going to give you information on the credit counselors and consider different kinds of financial products. Next slide, please. Let's figure out, how do you know whether it is a scam or not? You know, Anna, we're going to go back to her again. This is a young lady that had the low credit score, and was trying to get a house. So she had the first company promises to remove bad credit information from Anna's report. Cannot move bad credit information if it is your credit information. So if somebody says that, that's a scam. All she has to do is pay an upfront fee. Anytime you are told it's going to cost you this amount, that should set off bells and lights and sirens and all of that kind of thing. Anna is worried about her bad debt, but the company assures her that it can be scrubbed all negative information from her report. The company also advises Anna not to contact the credit reporting agencies, since doing so will negatively affect the company's efforts. All of those are really bad things for a consumer to do and should set off alarms. Next slide, please. Okay, here are the red flags. A request to pay upfront fees for a credit repair service. A promise to scrub all negative information. A promise to alter legitimate information. A warning not to contact the credit reporting agencies. All of these are signs that you are being scammed. So it's really important to never sign any blank paperwork, credit profile number scams, so many different types of scams. Next slide, please. As I promised you, I would provide you with two reputable organizations. One is the National Foundation for Credit Counseling, just as the National Council of Negro Women. It is located in Washington, D.C., but they have over 100 affiliates across the country, and these are companies, well, not companies, they are organizations that do not charge you an upfront fee for providing credit counselors. I use them on a regular basis to help consumers all across the country when I am doing these types of webinars. And it's www.nfcc.org. They will show you exactly which organizations are located in your area. Some do have in-person, but none of them are doing in-person financial counseling now. It's all either online or by phone, and then the Financial Coaching Association of America. Next slide, please. Okay, strategies to improve your credit. I think I've covered really most of the items that are shown here as far as keeping your credit cards less than previous slide, please. Use less than 30% of your available credit. Do not max out your credit cards. Pay your bills on time. Pay off your credit card bills each month in full if possible. Pay off your loans on time. Do not apply for multiple loans and credit cards at the same time. Remember those inquiries. Every time you apply for new credit, it lowers your credit score. Make a financial plan. That's why we talked about the budget earlier. That's your financial plan. And make sure you really stick to it and create that budget. And I want you to set short, medium term, and long term budgeting plans and financial plans. Review your credit report for accuracy. How often can you look at it? You can look at it on a weekly basis. You don't have to, but I hope that the credit reporting agencies, because of, and by the way, the government did not require them to do this. The three of them got together after COVID-19 and decided that they would provide free credit reports to consumers. But before, consumers could get a copy of their credit reports on an annual basis. Guess what small percent of people got them? Somewhere between 25 and 30%. I certainly hope now that more people are using this time to pull their credit reports. Make sure the information is accurate, because they get their information from creditors that you are applying for credit with or that you are doing business with. So you know what is accurate in your report. So now you have an opportunity to make sure all of your information is accurate. Last slide, please. Okay, I hope this has been beneficial to you, and we've provided you tonight with a lot of information. And as I told Janice Mathis earlier, I always enjoy working with you, and it looks like we have a lot of people on the line. It looks like we have like 175 people. So I'm pretty sure there are going to be a lot of questions. So I will shut up and take questions.
Okay, sir, I will start with the beginning question we got. How do student loans impact the credit score?
Student loans, it's debt. And remember, debt is 30% of your credit score. And so the higher amount of student loan you have, that does unfortunately lower your credit score. But let's talk about student loans for a minute. Because of COVID-19, all federal student loans, if they're federal, not private, you have a grace period. You can still pay on them, but you do not have to make payments until after September 30th. It will not have increased. No interest will be charged on federal student loans, but that's how it impacts your credit score through debt.
Okay, here's another question. Why is it that those who are paying down debt while not acquiring new debt, their credit score remains stagnant or continues going down? What's with that scenario?
Okay, they are paying down debt, but their score is not going up. I would have to know really what kind of debt are they paying down, because a installment loan debt is treated on the credit score a little different than a credit card debts. They when they do the scoring algorithms, they are handled a bit differently.
Okay. Do you have a recommendation of bank to use for a small business, or what bank do you use?
I don't like to give out, banking, one bank over another. I would recommend now, because of PPP, that is the payroll protection plan, again, a government program. Smaller banks, and I work with African American owned banks, depending on where you are. There are some all across the country. For instance, excuse me, if you're in the DC, Maryland area, there's Industrial Bank, and then over in Baltimore, there's Harbor Bank. If you're in the Atlanta area, there's Citizens Trust and Unity Bank. So it's different parts of the country. And then the largest bank is One United, and they have online as well as, most of them have online services that they provide. But normally for a business, a small bank is probably your better bet. But possibly because I deal with one of the top 5 banks for my business, but I've had experience for a long time. Plus, I know senior executives in both the small as well as the large banks. And I'll try to be shorter in my answers.
As a young individual graduate student who is yet to have a credit card, do you recommend paying rent on the credit card to gain good credit?
Not really, but you can. But here is what I would recommend for that graduate student is to see, a lot of folks don't realize the power they have as a young person. Here's how a banker looks at that young student, especially a graduate student. They want to do business with you, so they will provide you with a credit card, because really a credit card from a major institution is one of the best ways to establish credit, because they are looking at developing that relationship so that when you're interested in buying a car, you probably will come back to them. If you want to buy another car, maybe you'll come back with them. Maybe you want another credit card, then they hope you'll buy a house. So they are looking at all of those things as far as a way to do business with you. Now, using a credit card to pay rent, as long as you pay balance in full on a monthly basis, and that works for you. And it's also important to have a higher enough limit, because if your credit score is looked at certain times of the month, they look at, even if you pay balance in full, what is the high credit limit there. So hope that answered that person's question, but a great question.
Okay. What can you do if the monthly income that's coming in does not meet all expenses, which causes late payments, income change due to decrease of job or COVID?
I wish I could give you an answer that you would like to hear, but I can't. And here, the only answer I can provide is you need to figure out a way to. I don't know what happened there.
You still here?
Okay. You need to figure out a way to generate additional income.
Okay. How do you stop people/businesses from making inquiries on your credit report without your express approval?
It depends on who's making those requests. You can go to 1-885-OPT-OUT. That's opt out of solicitations, but you can go on any of the credit reporting websites. Since I'm referring people to the credit reporting websites, it is really important to look at all 3 of the credit reporting agencies' websites and look under credit education. They all have outstanding information for you there. And then VantageScore and myfico.com, they have great education information. And you can look at all 3 of these, and you can block that, or you can also put a credit freeze on your credit report. And what a freeze, you can do that for a minimal charge. Also, that helps to prevent identity theft. And then you are given a secret code. And if you want to thaw it out, it only takes 5 to 10 minutes if you want to make a purchase. And again, this is something we didn't talk about, a good way to prevent identity theft.
What are some credit cards that will accept someone with a low credit score?
Here is what I recommend for someone with a low credit score. Again, going to a credit union, small bank, opening an account, and getting a secured credit card that is secured by the savings you have. Any credit card that you are going to have, they're going to be probably high fees that are charged. But if you get a secured credit card, your savings actually serves as the security for the financial institution, whether it's a credit union or a major or small bank. Probably better with a small bank. That is the way I would recommend that you do getting a credit card. And the thing of it is, use the card, and probably within 6 months, they will give you a credit card that is not a secured card, because now they have a history with you that they can trust you.
This person recently went to Costco's and applied for a Costco card, and they were told that Costco was only making soft credit inquiries. Is that true? Is that a thing?
They were not making soft inquiries. They are not allowed to do that. They were making a hard inquiry.
Okay. I pulled my credit report on May 7th and found several inaccuracies on all 3 reports. There were inquiries made not by a reported company, and there were store cards lowered, and the store inquiries lowered my credit limit. What should I do?
Read that one again. I'm not.
Okay. Pulled a credit report on May 7th, found several inaccuracies on all 3 reports. There were several inquiries made and not by my reported that she wasn't told about. And then 3 store cards lowered my credit limit. What should I do?
Okay. That's why you pulled your credit report. That's what the dispute process is. She needs to dispute this with all 3 of the credit reporting agencies, and they will work with her.
All right. How do you feel about Apple's new credit card?
How do I feel about what?
Apple has a credit card with Goldman Sachs now.
Okay.
Is it, I guess they're asking if it's a reputable card, I'm assuming.
If it's with Goldman Sachs, it is, but I since I don't know about that particular card, I can't give a good answer as far as that is concerned.
All right, I'm trying to get through some of these. Can we dispute medical collections on credit reports based upon unforeseen circumstances and situations regarding the health of the consumer?
Yes, you can, and remember what I shared earlier. The collections are not going to be handled the same by scoring agencies as they were in the past. But yes, you can. And the other thing, you can provide a statement in your credit report about that particular collection item. Always know that you can provide that type of information, and do not allow, there's something called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act that protects consumers from being threatened, protects consumers from being called on their job, protects consumers from having their neighbors called about them, and prevents postcards or a lot of different things, covers the Consumer and the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act.
All right. In regards to COVID-19, if a person is laid off or furloughed, what are the credit cards doing? Specifically, if a person was in good standing with their credit cards and had excellent payment history prior to the impact of COVID-19.
Okay, this is something with COVID-19 that is very important. If you cannot pay, pick up the phone immediately and call your creditor and tell them what has happened, and you will find, especially if they are reputable. This is why I encourage people to work with reputable companies and make arrangements with them, tell them, and they know that millions of people, today it was reported another 1,100,000 people reported last week unemployment claims. Now we are up over 40 million people. So creditors are encouraged to work with you. And then the other thing, this is a person who really does need to check their credit report on a regular basis to make sure that the arrangements that they made with their creditor is being handled and reported as with the arrangements that they agreed upon, and that is that they don't show that this person is late or delinquent in payment.
All right. Is Credit Karma an accurate reporting of your credit report and activity?
Credit Karma is a educational score. It is not your actual credit score. I actually, that's why I was encouraging people to get information from their creditor. That is an actual credit score. That score that your creditor, my Discover score that my creditor gives me, my wife's Bank of America credit score, that's the score that Bank of America uses and gets because they review your credit report on a monthly basis, and that's how they arrive at that score and everything. But Credit Karma is a legitimate firm. It has been impacted by COVID-19 also. They have a dramatic reduction in business. Know this with Credit Karma. When you give them your information, they are selling your information to creditors, and that's why many times you are getting solicitations from various creditors.
Okay. If you make a payment in full on a collection debt item, how much will that improve your credit score?
It's going to take a while to do this, but here is what I encourage people to do. If you pay off the collection, a lot of times people want to come to the credit reporting agency and say, I paid off that debt, but it's still on my credit report. Remember, I told you from the inception, which is about 121 days past due, the collection stays on for 7 years. But guess what? If you pay that debt to a collection agency, they can actually remove it from the credit report with the credit reporting agency, but you've got to get it in writing and get that agreement from them. It won't improve your score immediately, but over time it will certainly, it'll wipe it off your credit report, and when it's your score is calculated, it shows a much better score in the algorithm. Let me just talk again about the credit score. You don't have, number one, you don't have a credit report sitting in a file in any of the credit reporting agencies. Your credit report is only compiled when you request it or a creditor requests it. Same thing with your credit score. There's no credit score that's just sitting in your credit file. It is only calculated when there is a request for your credit score. So I hope that helps people better understand the credit scoring system and the credit reporting system. Okay, next question.
Can we stop our creditors from selling our personal information?
No.
Once someone purchases a house or car in their 50s and 60s, do they still need credit?
Well, if you travel, yes, you need a credit card. I encourage people having credit cards. If you're checking into a hotel, you should have a credit card. If you're renting a car, they want a credit card, because otherwise, if you're using a debit card, they're going to put a hold on a large amount on your personal banking account. So it is just really, really important to have a credit card, no matter what age you are.
Why do the different agencies have different numbers for credit score?
They have different numbers because they have different information. This is an exercise for everybody. Now that you can get free credit reports, go and look at each of the credit reports that you get and look at the different information. You probably will not see all the same information on all three of the credit reporting agencies because creditors are not required to report to all three. So you're going to see different information on the credit report. Therefore, there will be different credit scores.
What interest rate for a credit card do you recommend for a first-time credit card getter?
Probably, since interest rates are so low, try to get something in the single digits, but that's possibly going to be a challenge, but no more than 15%.
Okay, I'm trying to surmise some of these. Should you pay off all collect or charge off accounts?
Should you pay off all collections? Did they
Yes.
say?
Collections and charge off accounts, yes.
Yeah, collections, yeah, that's going to help your credit score. But again, remember what I said, if you're going to pay them off, make sure you make an arrangement with the collection agency to remove it from your credit report.
If a company provides a grace period for making a payment, does that affect your credit if you don't make the payment on the actual date?
If they provide a grace period, you need to make it within the grace period. You don't want to go beyond the grace period.
Does getting a debt consolidation loan help or hurt your credit? Should you close out credit cards as well, or will they hurt your future score?
Here's what I recommend, and it really helps you. Go to nfcc.org and go to a credit counseling agency, and they are set up a debt management program for you. And it over time, because they're going to close out accounts, so it's going to impact your score initially, but over time you are going to you'll be okay, because they're going to put you also on a budgeting plan so that you don't get back in trouble again.
Would it help your credit score if you ask a dormant credit card to lower your limit?
Repeat that, please.
Would it help your credit score if you ask a dormant credit card lender to lower your limit?
No. It see, your score is helped by a higher credit limit rather than a lower credit limit, because that it's all about utilization. I have such a high credit score because I have high credit limits on my credit cards, and I charge only a small percentage of that. So when you're looking at my utilization, which is the debt to limit number, that is very, very low. But if I had a very low credit limit, then my score would not be as high as it is, because I would have much higher utilization.
Okay. What about taxes owed to the IRS? Does that impact your credit score?
Yes, it does.
For clarification, someone's asking, do you recommend a first-time credit card user to get a secure credit card?
Yes.
What is the difference between a FICO score and the credit agencies?
Okay, the FICO score is a scoring company. They have to go to the credit reporting agencies to get your file, but their business is creating all types of credit scoring models. Now, the credit reporting agencies, this is not a major part of their business, but they have scoring agent parts of their business, but it's not a major part because they utilize Vantage and FICO mainly. But the different the two major scoring agencies, that's all they do. They score credit reports. The credit reporting agencies, they capture all of the data. Now, I'll just be very candid with you. Credit reporting agencies, that's just a small part of their business now. These companies are data companies, major data companies, and they actually provide all kinds of decisioning products to creditors. They tell the creditors what individuals are the best prospects for them, because they capture data from so many different sources, even alternative data sources. They are looking at everything now. For instance, they can tell you, tell the creditor which people would qualify for a Lexus, Mercedes versus a Chevrolet or a Honda or Hyundai, whatever. You know, the companies don't even have to solicit that. They can ask the credit reporting agencies and they can tell them.
Does annualcreditreport.com give you credit scores along with the credit reports?
No, just your credit report.
Any credit advice for a person going through a divorce?
Yes. It is really, no matter what the judge says, it is really important that you look at all of the credit that you have that is joint. Try to figure out how to separate those joint accounts. You probably will have to pay them off. Unfortunately, the judge may say you have the house and he is going to pay for it. But if it is joint and he doesn't pay, it actually hurts you. So you may have to make that tough decision. We've got to sell the house because I'm not sure that he's going to pay, but know that you have to make a clean start. This is an emotional time. It's a very tough time. Tough, especially if you on individual, if they don't have children, but even if you have children. So those are just some advices from a credit standpoint, because joint, no matter what the judge says, he is to pay or she is to pay. If they're joint and somebody does not pay, it goes on both credit reports.
Okay, as a teenage entrepreneur, should they be a co-signer on the parent's credit card? Should they seek a financial loan if needed?
Teenage, I would need to know how old is the teenager, because you have to be 18 years of age to legally be liable for debt.
Is it a good idea to pay extra money monthly towards your principal or towards your interest?
Are they talking about a house?
That's a short question. I don't really understand that question.
Okay, if it's a house, definitely. I would even go as far as saying, with interest rates as low as they are now, and if they have good credit, they need to, rather than doing that, need to look at refinancing the property and seeing about reducing the number of years. I just worked with a young man. He had a 30-year mortgage. He had only been in the house for about a year, but with the interest rates as low as they are now, he got a 15-year and he was only paying $100 more per month than he was paying for the 30-year mortgage.
Okay, if I have a credit card that has an $8,000 limit and don't use it, will this negatively affect my credit score?
No, but here's what I recommend to that person. They may lose that credit card if they have that high of a credit limit and don't use the card. I recommend using it about every 2 to 3 months, just making a purchase and paying balance in full when it's due, so that the creditor, number one, won't close the account, and number two, main thing, not close the account. But the other thing is it really helps them as far as their credit score, because if the creditor closes that account, that, remember I said the length, how long you've had credit, then the payment history, as well as the utilization, that changes all of that and has a significant impact on 80% of your credit score.
Okay. And last question, will consolidating loans hurt my credit?
I really need a little better question than that, so that I can make, give the right answer. They didn't say consolidating
What kind of
credit cards or what?
Okay. Well, that's about all the time we have, unless you would like to continue answering more questions. I mean, we're available to you.
I'm fine. If there are some more, I see that there are still 147 people that are still on the line.
All right. Going through these, some of these are duplicates. Do you recommend people withdrawing from their TSP to pay off debt? And what methods do you recommend for paying back that withdrawal back into their TSP?
I am not sure that I know what a TSP. I think it's a retirement plan, and I am not a big proponent of people going into their retirement plans to pay off debt. I would prefer them using other strategies to do that. Although due to COVID-19, there is a piece in there that you can do up to $100,000 as far as withdrawal. But again, as a financial person, I just am real hesitant about people using those plans to get out of debt. I would prefer for them to look for other strategies.
I have seen credit card review companies that offer instant boosts to your credit scores and you add nothing like your utilities. How is this possible?
Read that again.
I've seen credit card advertisement companies will help you boost your credit score, but they're not asking for your utilities or information. How is that possible?
It isn't.
Okay. So you put that on the scam side.
Beg your pardon?
You would put that on the
Yes,
scam side.
it's on the scam side, yes.
Mhm. How do high school students and college freshmen build great credit?
Let me share this with parents who have college students, and they are very good with their credit and have credit cards. I would like for them to help their young college students by putting them on as an authorized user on a couple of their credit cards, and that actually, and the student doesn't even have to have access to the line of credit, but they help their young person to build good credit by being on as an authorized user. Then I also, parents can also put the young person on a credit card as a co-signer also. So a few things that they can do to help the young person, or as I said earlier, the young person can go in and sit down and talk to someone in bank or credit union, and they will certainly be happy to work with them and give them some good advice in this area.
Okay. How do you begin to boost your credit score after bankruptcy?
Great question. A lot of folks after bankruptcy, they do absolutely nothing. And I tell them immediately after you file for bankruptcy, uh, you know, put your pride away and everything and go in and sit down. I also recommend that you talk to someone who is a credit counseling agency. They can provide you with some good advice, but also go to if you're employed, maybe have a relationship with a credit union, or go to a small bank and sit down with someone there and talk to them about your situation. And this is where, again, as I recommend it for young people getting a secured card, this is what I recommend again for a person who has filed for bankruptcy. Get that secured card, and then that's a way to start re-establishing, maybe even getting then a second card. But just doing absolutely nothing after filing bankruptcy, that's not going to get you back into the credit system. So you've got to have activity, get the card, use it, pay balance in full. This is where I want you to establish a different behavior, play balance in full. Also, work to deal with reputable companies, because there are companies out there that are looking for people like you, and they are going to present different opportunities to you, but they are all high cost loans that you can get. Getting a car, going to a buy here, pay here lot. They don't report to credit reporting agencies, so you're not building credit. So it's doing the right thing now, and the first thing is getting that credit card that is a secured card, not one that's being promoted by somebody. They're going to give you a $300 credit limit, but yet they're going to charge you $150 for that card so now you only have $150 limit.
Okay, this is rather lengthy, so bear with me. I have a business credit card, which I admittedly use for more personal reasons than that business. Now I need to use it for business purposes more often, and I actually need ask for an increase to the credit limit of the business. How would you recommend I start approaching this situation to put me in a more favorable position for the creditors to increase my business credit limit?
Okay, first thing. Okay.
We can hear you.
All right. I was getting. Okay, let me start again. Now, please, I hope this person is still on the line. Hear this. Do not use your business credit card for personal purposes. When people were trying to get PPP loans, that's one of the reasons they couldn't get them, because they didn't keep good books. You only use your business credit cards for business purposes. You use your personal credit cards for personal purposes, not business purposes. We've got to emphasize with people that if you're operating a business, it has to be really operated like a business. Records are separate, and you've got to keep them separate. And so this is the first thing I would advise them to do. And believe it or not, one of the best places to establish a business account is places like Lowe's and Home Depot. But I have, I'll tell you, I have business credit cards through Citibank, and I have American Express business credit cards. But I only use those cards for business, and I would encourage this person to do the same.
Okay. I applied for a loan and it was approved. I didn't like the terms that were disclosed until signing, so I gave the loan back. Can I get this inquiry off of my report?
No,
All right. Under what circumstances should a person file for bankruptcy?
they really need to talk to a credit counseling agency. I just cannot, in good conscience, give an answer to that without looking at all of the information as to what their debts are, what kind of debts, and everything like that. I don't feel comfortable answering that without a lot more information.
Understood? How does a foreclosure affect your credit, and does it come off after 7 years?
Foreclosure does come off after 7 years. Foreclosure can drop your credit score anywhere from 105 to 160 points.
And I'm assuming that a car repossession also stays 7 years?
Car repossession stays 7 years, and it's probably lowers your credit score somewhere in the 125 point range. But the other thing with a car repossession, you've got to look at something else with them. They are going to sell the car at wholesale, and then you still are obligated to pay the difference in what you owed versus what they sold it for. So just having it repossessed doesn't get you off. And hopefully the same thing happens with repossession. You're probably in a little better shape there. But the repossession is where I find in all discussions is the real problem. I've dealt with people who still owe $2,000 on a car that they no longer have.
All right, and I think this is the last question, and you have several thank yous in the box. So at this point, I think we're going to wrap up. Thank you to everyone who was a part of this. We will post this on ncnw.org in the coming days, so you can see this information. I again ask you to look at the handouts, which are at the bottom. And if you are not a member of the NCNW, I urge you to please join us. You can go to ncnw.org for that information as well. We have regular membership, lifetime membership, legacy membership, and we even have a membership for male associates in the Charles L. Franklin Associates. Mr. Cheeks, I'm going to say this was very educational and very informative. I thank you, and I hope that you enjoyed this as much as we did.
I certainly did. I always enjoy working with my really, really, really good friend, Janice Mathis. We've known each other for many, many years, and anytime I receive a request from her, I am going to honor that request.
Thank you all, and have a good night.
All right. Thank you now. Bye-bye.